Deepwoken just had its latest major update, and it is great so far. Titus is the best addition to the game since Layer 2 in my opinion. The entire dungeon is a great challenge, and the boss itself is unique and unlike anything else in the game. However, there are still problems, the community side of issues and the dev side of issues, because neither side are without fault here. In today's video, I will be discussing the problem with the Deepwoken community in relation to major updates, as well as the problem that the developers may have with inconsistencies within their major updates. Before we get into it, I'm live on Twitch, come watch me on Twitch. I'm live on Twitch, I'm playing Deltarune Chapter 4, I'm live on Twitch, come watch me on Twitch. You have to watch me right now on Twitch, or else I'm gonna die. You have to watch me on Twitch. And now, of course, subscribe, and let's get straight into it. Alright, so there's two sides of this issue that I wanted to cover. One being much shorter, so let's go over it. The development side of Deepwoken's major updates have one simple problem, and that problem is inconsistency. Most of this inconsistency being within the writing of the lore. Of course, a lot of you guys know that the lore is my favorite part of Deepwoken, so of course I'm gonna talk about it. There is a little bit of gameplay inconsistency, but I don't think that's an issue because it makes the gameplay varied. The number one complaint I've heard for this side of things is that the Titus boss fight doesn't make sense because his patterns are unpredictable and he doesn't really have a stun state to damage him in, but he also isn't a boss where you can always attack him freely like the monster related bosses, which I think is a lame complaint that I've been hearing way too much recently, which goes more into the stuff I want to cover within the community later. But as a whole, some people genuinely think Titus is a bad boss fight because he doesn't give you a 5-second stun phase to damage him, but he's also not like the non-humanoid boss fights where they're always vulnerable and you can hit them at any time. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. He's the hardest boss in the game right now, so a new boss, which is good, and a challenge is great. And he's got unique patterns making him fun to fight. So yeah, pattern inconsistency is a good thing. What isn't a good thing, however, is lore inconsistencies, and they really upset me. These are usually caused by the fact that the devs don't organize the lore that well, but the recent update had one bit of convoluted lore that people were looking at me like I was crazy for pointing out. And the thing I'm specifically talking about is the new weapon, the Edenbrand Hellcoil. Now, I covered in my last video that the description of this weapon refers to the fact that its energy source was stored from a true Edenkite, and that the statement of a true Edenkite implies the existence of a false Edenkite, which doesn't make sense. And that the statement of a false Edenkite doesn't make sense. People in the comments then started saying, well, actually, it's talking about the Dread Serpent. Why wouldn't you know that if you know the lore? No, that doesn't make sense, and it's poorly written and convoluted. The first Dread Serpent was not a false Edenkite. He is a completely different being manifested out of ardor and despair. The Dread Serpents don't have anything to do with the Edenkites other than their initial origin story, which happened when a man killed an Edenkite and ate its heart to obtain the knowledge. The ritual wasn't done in hopes of creating an Edenkite, and it didn't. All future Dread Serpents after the first are just created when an Ardor user goes through insanity and dread within the Void Sea, which can cause the mutation of the soul, turning you into a Dread Serpent. It has nothing to do with the Edenkites. Calling a Dread Serpent a false Edenkite is not only wrong because the Dread Serpents technically have minimal, if any, connection to the Edenkites, and the modern ones have no connection to the Edenkites, but it's also wrong in the implications that they're mimicking the Edenkites, which they aren't. So here's another example if you don't get it. Take any media representation of, I don't know, false gods. People who gain power above normal human limitation, with large egos who claim themselves as gods for rising above mankind. They're false gods because they're trying to mimic the power of gods, right? The Dread Serpents don't mimic the power or anything in relation to the Edenkites, and the creation of the Dread Serpents wasn't done purposely to become similar to an Edenkite. It was done in the pursuit of knowledge and went wrong. And before someone says, well, he was trying to become as smart as an Edenkite, so yeah, he kinda is a false Edenkite, that's not how it works, okay? That's just not it. I can't put myself between two slices of bread and say I'm a false sandwich, you fucking idiot. So why the fuck would that... I'm sorry, that was mean. Sorry for ranting about it, but lore inconsistencies, statements like this are really annoying, and this is why the devs should hire someone or a few people to reorganize and write the lore better based on their ideas. Because while some of the devs are half decent at writing, some of them clearly aren't on the same page, and even if they are, the lore is too disorganized for them to be completely consistent with it. So a team of people dedicated to doing it based on the loose ideas of the devs would be perfect, and get me on that team. Now, I really just wanted to use that quick section to complain about the lore because it pissed me off. Some people were calling me dumb for not thinking it was talking about the Dread Serpents when that literally makes no sense. Regardless, that brings me into part 2. The community side of the issues when major updates come out. Because the community is always split between people who do and don't like the content regardless of what it is. With the major updates we've had so far, we've seen it with Layer 2, we've seen it with Sarah Made Hollow, we've seen it with the Chime of Conflict Edition, we've seen it with the World Event update, and now we see it with the addition of Titus and the Detainment Core, always in different ways. Out of all these updates, personally, I only hate Chime of Conflict. I'd remove it if it was viable to do so this late in the game's life, but because so many people play Chime, it's just not a good idea for the lifespan of the game. With that being said, I'd still remove it given the chance, because if you only play Chime, I'm doing you a favor by removing it anyway. That shit isn't fun. Now, the biggest issue the community generally has, though, is comparing these updates regardless of how different they are. I've genuinely seen people say, oh, well, the Detainment Core isn't anywhere near as good as Layer 2, so I'm probably not gonna play it and I'll just wait for Layer 3. Like, are we serious? How could it be anywhere near Layer 2? If you're a PvP only player, you don't care about Layer 2 anyway, and if you're a PvE player, you should just be happy we got some good PvE content with the Detainment Core. Lots of people make the constant problem of comparing updates when in reality they aren't comparable and shouldn't be compared. Literally, the only two comparable major updates in the entire game are Diluvian Mechanism and Hell Mode, and both of those are kinda lazy. There is almost nothing to compare when it comes to Layer 2, the Detainment Core, the World Event update, Sarah Made Hollow, and I mean nothing. So before someone comments, well, we can compare the bosses, yeah, I guess you can, but that's not even fair to do because out of the 3 of those updates that added bosses, none of them fight the same. There's one humanoid boss, being Chaser, whatever the hell Etheron is. Then, from the World Events update, we have 2 non-humanoid large-scale World Event bosses meant to be taken down by groups of people, and, you know, the Heart of Enmity, and the Parasol, and the Doom of Carenthil, so actually 3. Script writing mistake, but whatever, right? And then you have the Circus of Hearts along with that. And then we have the Detainment Core, which is a unique PvE challenge incomparable to Layer 2 as well, because the dungeon itself is entirely different with different, you know, issues and stuff you have to deal with. And Titus, while being a humanoid boss, has an AI and patterns unlike any other boss. And then Sarah Made Hollow, which is an early to mid-game progression route. But yeah, if you really want to suck the joy out of the game, feel free to compare all these updates to Layer 2 and be upset when the Detainment Core isn't as good as a new layer of the Depths, which is like literally the biggest thing in the lore. Look, just enjoy the updates for what they are and not your unrealistically high expectations for every new update to be as good as Layer 2. Players even do the same exact thing with non-major and regular weekly updates, and then they complain about these slop new legendary weapons, but according to the player count, most people love the slop legendary weapons because player counts would always spike when they get added. So clearly there's a discrepancy in what the community says they like versus what they actually like. So when you guys can't even make up your minds with weekly updates, I think you should stop trying so hard to find flaws with the major ones. Because even on release, the World Events update, well, it was pretty buggy at the time, specifically with the Carnival of Hearts, it was still cool. The game got some meaningful permanent additions, and there wasn't just like new gear you could find in any pool that you could lose. Also, if I'm being honest, all of the glitches with the Carnival of Hearts were really funny. I think it was much more fun when it was like broken. That was actually really entertaining. But look, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please stop comparing the updates and just enjoy them. A lot of you like to suck the joy out of things because things aren't, you know, that different or that new. So, yeah, really though, just try and enjoy the updates for what they are. They're fun if you don't think too hard. And if you're thinking too hard, well, you're really trying to suck the fun out of it for yourself, and it's deserved. And I mean, I'm kind of making this video because I'm just tired of hearing people complain. Like, I know that's kind of ironic coming from me. I'm like the #1 complainer. Complaining is my whole thing, but the difference is when I do it, I generally complain about things in order, like, for the sake of improvement. Like, I have never once hated on a game or said something bad about a game without 1, reasoning, and without 2, like, it being at least somewhat important. Like the other day I had someone comment on a video saying, are your videos rage bait? Do you have 60k subs off of rage bait? Because all I've ever seen you do is hate on Roblox games. That guy, fucking idiot, honestly, because I don't get how you don't see the points that I'm making in all of my videos. And if you genuinely think that I hate on games without any sort of like reason, you're just wrong, and I have like 300 video scripts to prove you wrong. But yeah, I'm just kind of tired of seeing people complain. Ironic, I know, but I am. And I think it's bad when people complain for no reason, basically just to join an echo chamber full of negative thoughts where everyone's saying the same things about how the game's bad without saying why or even like how to improve it. I at least offer those solutions. So I think I have more right to hate than all of you, which makes me a better hater than the people who are hating. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Check out the live channel, of course. 1 hour Ban of Peel video coming soon, so hope you guys enjoy that. You'll be eating good. Enjoy all the slop. Yummy, you little piggies. Shout out to YouTube members Green, Brick, Goobka, Highcard, and Trizzy Drake Fan. I love you all. Have an amazing day, of course, and goodbye.